Well, we knew it was coming down the pipe. It wasn't going to take that long. I have not joined the Palworld craze. I think the reason why is because it's a little bit too close to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And it's also too close to Helldivers too. So I really don't have the time to dedicate to it as much as I want. Maybe further on down the line, I'll probably give it a spin. But we all knew that this was going to be coming down the pipe eventually because Pal World is a little bit too close to a another little intellectual property out there by the name of Pokemon, owned by the Pokemon Company and Nintendo. So the Pokemon Company made an official statement. Here it is right here. We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. The Pokemon Company wrote, "We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future." Um, First off, I almost laughed. Like it's so funny that I almost laughed and I couldn't hold back the snort. Um, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are some of the most bulldogish defenders of their IP. If anything even remotely comes close to looking like Pokemon, they immediately go into attack mode. Now, here's the thing. Palworld came out of nowhere. There weren't any waves before it came out. It just kind of showed up on the scene and it sold 8 million copies in literally less than a week. And there have been, of course, as to be expected, people that have pointed out that there are some similarities between some of the pals and some of the Pokemon. Now, is that to be expected? Kind of, because they chose to use basically the same design style for their pals that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have essentially used for their Pokemon. But is there actually a case? Is there actually a an infringement of IP? That's more or less difficult to say. I have no doubt that Nintendo probably has 100 people who have purchased this game that are sitting in a lab somewhere in a Nintendo black site that are gonna play this game for probably around 500 hours, and every single time they encounter something that's extremely similar to Pokemon, they're gonna snap a picture of it and they're going to compare it to basically what they have in studio, or the Pokemon that they think that it in some way, shape, or form is referencing. And I have no doubt that probably in uh not now, but I would say probably in like the next few months, probably around February or March. Oh shit, it may actually, yeah, I'd say probably at the end of February or probably around early March, we'll hear something in regards to this again, with Nintendo probably deciding to take legal action against Pal World, saying that it stole their concepts. But I mean, what is the definition of stealing your concept? Like, they're not using the term Pokemon. Yes, they are using almost the same type of capture device to capture Pokemon, but then Palworld can say that our device don't only capture Pokemon, they also capture humans. And we make it very clear that what you are doing in the game is tantamount to slavery when you capture these fucking things and you put their asses to work on your fucking farm or inside of your corporate office to build up your global empire. So will Nintendo have a case? They're gonna have to argue in court whether or not when people capture Pokemon in their games, if that's slavery. And that's going to be a very, very interesting thing to see Nintendo argue and try and defend in court. Now, would they have a better chance trying to see if they can draw similarities between certain characters and their characters? Yes. but usually that's a more murky area to basically dive into. Like, you are, in order for you to win a case like that, you have to literally prove that these developers basically went out, they took your design, and then they just stenciled over your design and added a little bit of stuff. Um, that might be the route that they choose to go, but as I said before, we'll see. Now, interestingly enough, in this article, they talk about something that I was unaware of, which is the fact that they've been receiving death threats. That I did not know. Palworld devs say they've received death threats amid Pokemon ripoff claims. Hit out at massively outlandish claims. Let's see, we've got amid the explosive launch of Palworld, its developers have taken social media to say that they've received death threats. Last week, I reported on Palworld, aka Pokemon with Guns, and it started. But here's the thing: when this game came out, they did as much as they could to make sure that they, of course, it was going to be looked at like Pokemon, but you know, the game name of their game was Pal World. Everyone else started calling it Pokemon with Guns, which is probably what Nintendo is like, the eye of Sauron. It's looking around, it doesn't see anything. Then all of a sudden it hears Pokemon with Guns, and it just and zooms in on what the fuck is going on. And there are Nintendo diehards out here. There are Pokemon fans out here that purchase every single Pokemon game. I was talking about it on stream the other day. The very last Pokemon game I purchased was in 2012, and I think that was Pokemon Black and White. I have not played it in over a decade. Frantically working through all my DMs and emails of promise. However, you'll excuse me if I skip over the death threats. Threats to the company and massively outlandish claims. You're capable of writing like an actual human being, though. I'll reply ASAP. Currently, we are receiving slanderous comments against our artists, and we are seeing tweets that appear to be death threats. I have received a variety of opinions regarding Palworld, but all production related to Palworld are supervised by multiple people, including myself, and I am responsible for the production. I would appreciate it if you would refrain from signing the artists involved in Palworld. Like I said 3 seconds ago, it's really going to come down to, if Nintendo does a lawsuit. Um, damn, I forgot the name of fucking Palworld's Pocket Pair. It's really going to come down to Pocket Pair showing their process. Like, this is how we created our pals. This is the process that we went through. No, we actually hired people who worked on all of the different pals to make them unique assets for us. We didn't use any type of template for existing Pokemon. Anything that looks kind of sort of similar is just a major coincidence, because somebody can roll up and say, "Oh my God, that's Suicune over on the left," and "Oh my God, that's Ho-Oh in the middle." But if you can show me on paper that you brought in outside artists, and then those artists show the gradual evolution of the art to the pal that it eventually becomes, then Nintendo really isn't going to have a case in this feature. People who do death threats are goofy to me. I think that they are literally the bottom 0.00001% of the losers of and dregs of society. If you take time out of your day to send somebody a death threat that hasn't done you anything wrong, you shouldn't even be sending death threats to people who have done you something wrong. But if you're taking time out of your day to send death threats to a studio that released a fucking video game, and the people who worked on the video game, because you're upset that it looks too close to the Pokemon you've been playing with for the last 30 years, I think you're a fucking loser, and that's a really weird direction for you to take and apply your energy to. But yeah, this was always going to be Nintendo's response. It's a wait and see, which is, we are currently in the process of waiting for our 400 people that we have currently playing Palworld for 500 hours to find all of their comparisons, so that we can compare it to what we've got, and then we can see whether or not we need to sue the fuck out of this company. But let me know what you think. Comment down below. Do you think that Palworld stole assets from Nintendo? On my end, like I said, I don't think that they did, but you can definitely draw some comparisons or maybe some inspirations to certain pals in relation to Pokemon. Is that going to get them in trouble? I don't think so, but at the exact same time, if Nintendo was to say something like, "Hey, that looks too similar. Hey, that looks too similar. Hey, that looks too similar," then Palworld could just put out an asset update and change the way in which the PAL looks to something else and call it a day and move on with their fucking lives. But let me know what you think, comment down below, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.